Okay, I think we're live and we should be good. So I am back today. My name is Don Costa. I'm the host of the Flip Talk podcast, and we are doing something new. We are live streaming these interviews as we do them. They are going to be a little bit random because I don't do them on the same day and the same time, but I'm going to I think we're going to have a good time doing it this way. So we'll live stream them here on Facebook and YouTube, and then we're going to go ahead and post them on iTunes and all the other great places you listen to podcast, and they should come out within a few weeks of these live videos. So make sure you're checking it out. If you are on one of the other pages, I'm broadcasting to quite a few pages right now. Most of these we broadcast on the Flip Talk with Don Costa page in the future. So make sure if you haven't liked that page, go and like that page. Also, as most of you know, we have the Inner Circle Elite Mastermind community we have put together. I'm excited about it. We have opened the doors again for applications. We have our January meeting coming up at the end of January in Las Vegas. If you feel like you need to be part of a community, make sure you go to beinthisroom.com and apply. Today, I have my good friend Haim with me. Haim, how you doing, buddy?
Very good. How are you doing?
Very good. So I got to interview John yesterday, John Martinez, and I interviewed him about 3 years ago, and I actually interviewed you about 3 years ago as well. So the Flip Talk podcast was 3 years old in October, and you two were some of my first interviews, which was cool. So the story about how you and I met is interesting. I want to share that because I have a Facebook group and you were in the group and I posted something about property criteria. And I think probably looking back on it, the way I posted it came off wrong and you didn't like the way I posted it and you responded kind of negatively, right? If I remember correctly. And instead of getting into the internet battle, you and I decided, we'd reach out to each other and we talked a little bit. We decided to do a show, wholesaler versus flipper. You were a wholesaler at the time, 100% virtual. You're known as the virtual wholesaling guy. And I was a rehabber 100%. And we did a really cool show and got to know each other, became friends. So it's been an interesting kind of ride since then, huh?
Yeah, I actually removed myself from your group after this post.
You did, yes. Yeah.
Reach out to me again, and then we get it's one of this friendship that you challenge each other, you bump head, and then you become friends. So
Right. Right. And so that goes a long way to say on the internet, sometimes people say things wrong or react to things wrong. And we all just need to get along. That's a whole different story. But a good friendship has come out of that. I have a total amount of respect for you and what you do. And I know we have a lot of good friends that have kind of branched out from our friendship. So the interesting thing is at the time you were wholesaling, I was rehabbing, and we got into the exchange of assignment fees and what rehabbers should ask for and what wholesalers should be charging and all that kind of stuff. And for those of you who haven't listened to that show, just search wholesaler versus flipper in the Flip Talk archives wherever you listen. It's a good show. But what's interesting is you and I since then have kind of changed roles.
Yeah.
So you are now rehabbing in the Bay Area of California.
Correct.
And I am wholesaling a large amount of properties at this point. I'm rehabbing less and less every month, and it's interesting to see how we change roles because we were so set in our ways back then. So tell me about the changes for you. So you're wholesaling, you're doing virtual stuff in the Midwest, and now you're rehabbing in the Bay Area. What was that transition like? Why did it happen? And what have you learned from all of it?
So I was doing what, again, I started wholesaling, virtual wholesaling, and again, the keywords that everybody like and love, it's scaling, right? Again, even the whole scaling events now going on. I don't know if you spoke in this one. So that's what I was doing. Again, I start to hired because I did more volume. So I had the 3 acquisition people in 3 different markets. I had a lead manager, disposition manager, 2 virtual assistants. I was doing the Monday morning meeting, the level 10 meeting, all this good stuff from traction. And this is after I quit my 9-to-5 job. And I don't know, for most of you that follow me know that, again, I'm big on lifestyle and I do it just to enjoy and travel with my family. And after I accomplished that, I found myself in Greece, in Santorini, Greece, on an island, running a Monday morning meeting, and which for me, because of the time zone difference, was 3 a.m. in the morning. So I had to wake up in the middle of the night to run a Monday morning meeting. And I just wasn't present with my family on my vacation. And I said, you know what, I I built all this machine, and now I'm not there. So I'm kind of living the dream, but not in the dream, not enjoying the process, and kind of not enjoying, hating it. So it was a big aha moment for me that says, you know what, money is great, but I'm not enjoying the process. It's not for me. I don't like it. And I decided to make a transition, gave everybody a 2 weeks notice once I was back in the States, and said, I need to shift the model from high volume, low spread type deals, because that's what I was doing in Memphis, Tennessee, to low volume, big spread deals. When I don't need big team, I need maybe again 4 or 5 deals a year, and I can make just as much money, if not more, with much less effort, much less headaches, drama, and that's what I was doing. So I'm in San Francisco Bay Area, so it was a perfect shift because I can land these big, again, monster deals, and make with one deal what I was making like 10 different deals with all this overhead, team members, management, oversight, hiring, firing, and all of these headaches. So that's kind of the backstory of why I changed the roles.
Well, I mean, you definitely are the lifestyle guy. You give me, you set the example for me, basically. You give me a lot to live up to for sure, because you have definitely made the changes so you can spend a lot of time with your family. I think that a lot of people want to scale. And I know by scaling my organization, there's always these choking points where you get to these moments where it sucks really, really, really bad. And a lot of times you can work through those and come out of those even better. But as you expand, you constantly hit those. And I guess the question for a lot of us that we run into is, like, when do you stop expanding? When is good enough? And you obviously hit your point where this is, you identified what you need and what was important to you, and you kind of went from there, right?
Yes, again, be careful what you wish for. You want a big team. Again, with big teams comes, again, big headaches.
Right.
And overhead and management. And again, it's a different skill set too, because maybe you're great doing deals, but managing a team and leading a team, it's a completely different skill set. And for me, it wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't my strength. I just didn't enjoy it. Again, a lot of people say, okay, hire an integrator or a COO. And I just wasn't there. Again, I just didn't want to build an empire. Like, again, most people want to conquer the world and be in multiple markets and crush it. And for me, it wasn't the goal. So I just realized that and just make the shift.
So you started rehabbing. How has your mindset changed? Well, first of all, let me back up. Like, transitioning from wholesaling to rehabbing, like, what did you have any difficulties doing that? Because I know that a lot of wholesalers want to go from wholesaling to rehabbing. What were some of the challenges you faced in the transition?
I think, first of all, it's much bigger deals, right? So again, the average deal that we buy is close to $1 million, as opposed to being in Memphis, which is like maybe $40,000-$50,000. So now my earnest money deposit on San Francisco is just as much as the full, again, property when I was buying in Memphis. Right. So I think just closing on bigger deals, that was a challenge. Again, I was scared buying $1 million homes. And so that was a big challenge. So I think just finding a contractor and managing a contractor, that was a challenge, a new skill for me. As a wholesaling, I wasn't doing it. And then, as you know, that's huge when you're flipping houses.
Right.
Especially when you're doing big flips, there's a lot on the line if you don't have the right contractor. So that was the two biggest challenges for me, just overcoming this fear of buying $1 million properties, and then new skills to hire and manage a contractor.
So the fear about the $1 million properties. So obviously, a lot of people in the United States aren't in markets where they're going to be buying $1 million properties, but the mindset, the fear, $1 million property versus your first flip. I mean, your first flip, it could be a $50,000 property. It could be a $200,000 property or $1 million property. I mean, it's still going to be extremely scary. So what'd you do to get yourself over that fear of, taking that plunge, I guess?
So I was just starting to hang out with people that was doing $1 million flips, like Jason Boozy.
Right.
And so I started to speak with people in the Bay Area that were doing what I wanted to do. And when I found the first deal, I brought them with me to do the deal together. So I can kind of, somebody can hold my hand, even though I was experienced investor, but I was new to this $1 million type deals. And I brought somebody that has experience to do the deal with me in exchange to giving 50% of the profit of the deal, which was a big deal. For basically just hold my hand and help me overcome this fear so I can get the first deal under my belt and then again, just build from that.
You said a couple of things there that I want to point out before I do that. If anybody is on Facebook or YouTube and they're watching this, you're welcome to ask questions. I can actually see the questions and we'll get them in to the show if you ask them in time. So one of the things you said was you surrounded yourself with people who knew what they were doing. You surrounded yourself with the right community, which I think is important. And a lot of us, we're afraid to reach out to people who are doing these things or ask for help, or either it's pride or fear or whatever. But surround yourself with people who are doing it is extremely important. And I think that's contributed to my success. You obviously, it's contributed to your success for sure. And then also, you were willing to give up something. You didn't just go to somebody and say, help me or do this for me. You went to them and said, I'll share this with you if you'll teach me. And a lot of people forget to come from a position of service, of how can I help you and learn something? How can I provide something for you for your time and energy? So being open to doing that obviously allowed you to have somebody come in that had already done it a handful of times and walk you through, which I think is huge.
Yes, and I think the key is I brought the deal.
Right.
A lot of people want you to mentor them, and they want your time and experience and teach them, but they have to bring something to the table in exchange to that,
right.
Unless they're willing to pay for your time. So for me, again, I was paying for that by bringing a deal to the table and telling them, listen, this is the deal. I think it's a great deal. I would love for you to come and join me on these deals, because I didn't have the relationship with the lender. So right. I wanted to tap into their network. I wanted to make sure that they vetting the deal. So I'm not doing $1 million deal for the first time without another experience looking at the deal and kind of give me the stamp of approval. Because I wasn't able in a position, again, to close the deal without them.
Right.
Forget about the fear. Financially and practically, I didn't have the money to do that. So, but it was a juicy deal, 6-figure deal for them. For basically come one time to the property and tell me, looks like a good deal, go for it.
All right. Well, man, I wish I could have been that person, but anyway, that's a whole different conversation we'll have to have. So, contractors, finding the right contractors. So, again, that's a challenge that a lot of people have when they're wanting to get into rehabbing is, how do you find the right contractor? So what were some of the things that you did to find a contractor that you were willing to bet on and work with?
I think it's just somebody that's doing these deals in the same area, and asking them if they have recommendation. And yes, a lot of investors will not want to share their contractors just because they want to keep the contractors for themselves. But I think, again, in this case, Jason was kind enough to kind of tell me, use him. Again, I don't have any project right now. And he just basically introduced me to his contractor. And since then, again, I've grown. I don't use still the same contractor, because even as a flipper, I've evolved in the last year. So between 2018 and 2019, it's different than what I do. It's two completely different models.
Can you break that down? Is that something easily explained?
Yes. So 2018, I was just doing it alone. I was just finding deals, and again, having a contractor came along and flipped the house. I thought I'm great investors, which I basically was riding on the market, right? Again, I know it now, doing it in San Francisco in a much more competitive market, which is slowing market a little bit. I think the market was so great, so I thought I'm a great investor. That makes sense?
It does, because that was the mistake I made in between 2003 and 2006, 7. was the market was so good that I ran a horrible business, but I thought everything I touched turned to gold. So I totally understand.
So, and again, I had a partnership with a realtor just because my thinking was, again, I want to make it the same, but with less effort. So how do you do that? You bring a realtor to kind of manage and sell the product, and they bring in 50% of the funds. I'm bringing 50% of the funds and the deal, and I'm done. And the return on investment is the same, but the return on time is much better. Return on time is the keywords that I use, so it's a good one. And now in 2018, I just partner with an architect, and now we can add a level of finishes and product, and we can add square footage, and the level of product is not the typical fix and flip product. It's a much more sophisticated, and I think, again, in a slowing market, the level of finishes and the product that you bring to the market will be much more important than anything else, because there will be more inventory, buyers will be more picky, and the best product will win. So that's the focus that, again, we did in 2019. So it's much more sophisticated flips. We're doing it only in San Francisco. So I'm not looking at any other markets other than San Francisco. I don't live San Francisco because I live in San Francisco. I don't want to drive to the East Bay. I know the market better. I think it's the better market. Probably it will slow down the least between, again, compared to other cities around the Bay Area. And that's kind of the progression, the evolvement. I think I'm a much better investor today because of the partnership that I had, and because of the focus, much more focus, very picky on what we choose to do, what type of neighborhood we work in, and the level of product that we bring to the market.
So again, something you said I want to point out is, I mean, because the markets evolve and change, and if you're not changing, if you're not paying attention to your market and adjusting, you're going to end up in a lot of trouble. In some cases, the market's going to take off and be hot, and you're going to be fooled into thinking that you're great, and we're not. We're all flawed. You know, in a lot of cases, though, the market's going to shift, and you're going to get caught with your pants down if you're not careful, for lack of a better term. And so you got to be watching your market. The Bay Area is one of those fickle markets where they can turn on a dime, which it did. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of people, I know a lot of people that had to scramble, a few people that lost some money just recently. So because it turned on a dime and they were kind of betting the wrong way. So know your market, pay attention to what's going on, make sure you have the right relationships. I think that's very important. So how has your mindset changed, or has it, on your perception of a wholesaler and a rehabber? Because you were 100% wholesaler, I was rehabber, and we kind of clashed on points of view. So have you come over to the rehabber dark side at all? Has your perception changed, or tell me about that?
So one of the reasons that I don't miss the days of being a high volume wholesalers is because of the marketing machine that you need to keep in the background, generating leads, converting leads, going to appointments. So with my model, I don't need to have that. I just need 5 to 8 deals a year, and I'm good. So I don't need to have all this machine in the background. So one of a great ways, again, I buy most of my deals now from wholesalers and from real estate agents, pocket listing. So building relationship with these two groups, that's been my source of deals, because then I don't need to generate all these marketing leads. And I work with few wholesalers that bring me deals. And if you build a relationship in the right way, that it's a win-win. It's great. So I paid 50 grand assignment fee to a wholesaler that brought me a great deal. And Don, I didn't have an issue with that. No.
Okay. Right.
So I just say, and the last wholesalers, again, they probably made $100,000 on a deal, but the numbers still made sense for me, and I knew there's enough meat on the bone. And I knew that I was a wholesaler, so as long as they brought value to the table, I didn't care how much they made. It was painful to write this check, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it either pay this fee or somebody else will get this deal.
Right. I agree. So now I think at the time, and I'm not saying I was right. So anybody out there listening to this, don't send me hate mail because I don't think I was right. But I think at the time my issue was you charge me 50 and then I flip it and I only make 20. Like, and then the argument was, well, why does it matter if it still fits your numbers? And that was what I was having a hard time with at the time. Do you feel like you would have a hard time with that scenario if you paid 100 grand but only made 50?
And I will know, because here's the question, because the guy who made 50,000 on the deal made just as much as we did wholesaling the deal. But he was working on this lead for a year. And we came and we flipped it and made 60 grand in 14 days. So the question is, if I'm going to count his money, I'm not going to get these 60 grand.
Right.
So what do you prefer? To count somebody else's money and don't have the money, or pay the guy's fees, the numbers make sense, and you're going to make the 60 grand. So that was kind of the way that I thought about it. I cannot pay him, but somebody else will make money. Or I'm going to pay him and I'm going to make the money.
Yeah. I struggled with it early on because I've always been a rehabber. And that's, I think, why you and I had the first conversations, because I struggled with a lot of that. Now that we're wholesaling more and more, I understand, I just we just had a situation where somebody counted our money on a deal and, or tried to, and it was very, very frustrating. So I get it now. The marketing that goes on behind it, especially when you're a machine, the amount of money we spend on marketing, and we have payroll and we have overhead.
Yeah.
And, for us to, always be only allowed to hit base hits, it's not worth it. We need the home runs here and there to make that part of the business worth it. And so I get it now. Do I like the idea of paying somebody as much or more than I would make rehabbing it because I'm doing all the heavy lifting? I still don't like it. Just like you said, you didn't like writing the check,
Right.
but I get it now and I understand it. And being on the opposite side, being a wholesaler, I understand it. So it's still stuff we see on the internet all the time where people are arguing it out. And I don't know. I think really the wholesaler needs to rehab one property and the rehabber needs to wholesale a few. And I think that way we'd all get it and be able to play a little bit better together for sure.
Yeah, and I think something that I tell to wholesalers, find the right buyers. If you have the buyers that count your money and they don't like that you make enough, again, a lot of money, again, there's enough buyers there that will pay you what you want. And so don't work with this professional rehabber, because they will not pay you as much as a new investor that just come into the market and it's a side gig, and they're just happy to make 10% on a flip, and they will pay you what you want. So don't worry about that.
I agree 100%. So looks like we both drank the Kool-Aid on opposite sides, which is a good thing. So so advice for somebody just getting started out, like if somebody was just getting started out today, what advice would you give them? Because you built a wholesaling business, now you're building a rehabbing business. What are some of the most important things you've learned?
I think the number one is work on your mindset. If your mindset in not the right place, again, you can do all the right things and you're still not going to get the results that you want. And especially for me, coming from, again, a 9-to-5 employee mindset, I was raised by two, again, great parents, but they're just 9-to-5 mindset. It would be hard for you to unwired your upbringing, basically. Again, all my friends were employees. All my surroundings, everything was 9-to-5 mindset. So just to get out of this by reading books, by going to meetups, by joining a mastermind, surrounding yourself with a group, with friends that their habits is it's your uncomfort zone, right? Again, that makes sense. So that's number one. And number two, just found somebody that is where you at, and try to find the best way to add value to them, so they can see you as an asset and not somebody that they waste their time on. And the best way to do it is to bring them deals. So that's, again, I don't see any other way for a newbie to add value to an experienced investors, unless they're willing to pay for the time. And again, paying you for, again, a cup of coffee is not going to make it. Just bring them a deal. go drive for dollars, speak with sellers, do all the legwork, and add value to them by presenting an opportunity for the other party to make a profit, or at least to go with you to the appointment and to get on a hot lead. And it's something that they can see the value of investing in you.
I agree 100%. The let me buy you coffee thing, it tends to be the trend, and a lot of people get upset when you don't respond the way they think you should respond. And I'm a big believer in coming from a position of service and trying to add value to somebody's situation. That goes a long way. It goes a long way with me. I'm sure it goes a long way with you. It goes a long way with the people that have helped me be successful in a lot of ways. And if you do that, and I want to really hammer that into those of you who are listening, if you go to somebody from a position of service, and whether it's, you know, you're going to run their laundry, right? You're going to be their personal assistant. I mean, even that may add value to the right person. You know, let me, you know, do all your menial tasks in your office just so I can watch and learn what you do. Something, just try to add value. Bring a project or an opportunity, bring a lender to the table. You know, there's a dozen ways that you can provide value to those of us, you know, out there doing this on a regular basis. It'll make us stop and want to help you back.
Yes, I absolutely 100% agree. And also just focus on the important actions. A lot of people just going through this rabbit hole of watching YouTubes and buying courses and doing everything that they can besides the tasks that will get them, they put money in the pocket, which is, again, generating leads, speaking with sellers, making offers, and following up. That's it. That's what you need to do when you're starting out.
Yeah. You're not going to learn how to talk to a seller, you know, from YouTube 100 times over. Maybe, you know, watch a couple of videos, get the gist of it, go out there and start making calls and make mistakes. When you make those mistakes and you hear the seller's response or you hear the silence, you're going to learn how to pivot, right? You're going to learn how to change and grow. And the only way to do that is by taking action. I agree 100%.
Yeah. Fail quick, fail often, fail forward, right?
Absolutely, 100%. So, or what was the future look like for you? We're going into 2020. What's your plan for 2020?
I think we're going to continue with this model. We just basically flipping houses in San Francisco, only entry-level homes. And we're going to continue, and we try to scale to do maybe 2 to 3 projects at a time. And I think that's pretty much the model. And I think for me, again, in the background, all the profit that I make, I either do private lending or buying assets to generate more cash flow, because that's the end game. Cash flow is king, not cash. So keep the money working, increase the cash flow every month. So if I don't feel working, or if the market cooling down, or if I decided to travel for 2 months or to move to a different country, I build enough cash flow that coming in on a monthly basis, so I can live wherever I want, and still cash flow will come to my bank account. So that's, again, a lot of people focusing only on the active side of the business, wholesaling and flipping, and forget the investing side and increasing the cash flow, because at the end, that's the end game, at least for me.
Right. Very cool. So tell everybody how to get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you, if they have any questions. You mentioned that you do lend. I'm sure you are always trying to lend to the right people, right?
Yes. Again, I'm just trying to add value to other people. And again, private money loans, again, to a lot of newbies that getting into this business, can add a lot of value to them. So I can be reached, again, their virtual wholesaler guy on Facebook. That would be the best place to send me just a private message, or you can find me on Facebook, my personal Haim Mamane Palman. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay. So for those of you watching, I have been looking at the chat and I haven't seen anything come through. If it's a technical issue on our end, I do apologize. Otherwise, I will get on and answer the questions manually if I need to. For, again, those of you listening here, we're going to be doing this again on a regular basis. I will be moving pretty much all these broadcasts over to the Flip Talk with Don Costa page. If you want to watch them in the future, make sure you're subscribed to that. And of course, if you want to be part of a community, go to beinthisroom.com right now and apply for that. And that's all I got. So until I talk to everybody again, have a wonderful day.